All right, today we're going to write quadratic functions and models. So what they're going to do is they're going to give us some info, and you have to come up with the equations. So that's the only difference. Kind of going backwards what we've done the rest of the chapter. Don't forget vertex form. We're going to use that a lot today, about half the time. Looks like this right here. You should be very, very familiar with that by now. Also intercept form when you have the x-intercepts. It's like the factored form. So those are the two forms we're going to use the most today as we go through this lesson. So here we go. And here's basically what you're going to see a lot. I'm going to give you a picture of a parabola and say write the equation for what you see and use what you know. Because you can look at that picture and tell what the vertex is, we're going to definitely go with vertex form. So I'm going to go y equals a. I do not know what a is. I do know it's positive because it's opening up. And I'm going to put the vertex in. So I'm going to go x minus 1 squared and then minus 2 right here because there's my vertex right there. So go ahead and plug that in. Now, to find out my a, what I'm going to do is notice it gave me a point that the parabola is passing through. Now, I'm going to say this a lot today and tomorrow, but if a graph passes through a point, the reason it passes through a point is because the point works. And what I mean by that is it solves the equation. So it's a solution. So I'm going to put this point, 3, 2, in my equation for x and y. I'm going to put the 2 in for the y and the 3 in for the x. So when I do that, all that leaves is that a. So I'm just going to work that out. I probably should, let me do this first. I'm going to move the 2 over first, this 2 over there, which will give me 4. Here I have an a, and if I do 3 minus 1, that's 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. If I divide both sides by 4, I get 1. And so my final equation is going to be y equals 1. I'm not going to write the 1, but there's a 1 there. X minus 1 squared minus 2. And that's it. That's your equation. So use what they give you. Come up with your equation. Probably should have known it was 1 because if you look at it from here to the next point it hits right here, it does go up 1 over 1, which kind of makes sense. All right, a little bit different one here. It's the same kind of question. It says write an equation for the parabola shown, but you don't know the vertex this time. But what you do know is you know your x-intercepts, which means use what they give you. I'm going to use intercept form. So I'm going to write it this way, y equals a. I don't know a, but I know a is negative. And I'm going to put the intercepts in, x plus 1, just like factored form, x minus 4. Remember, you put the opposite in your parentheses. So, again, they gave me this point. They gave me 3, 2. And the reason they gave me 3, 2 is because 3, 2 works, or it's a solution. So I'm going to plug 3, 2 in. I'm going to plug the 2 in for the y and plug the 3 in for the x. And once I do that, I'm just going to work it out. And so all that leaves is the a, so I'm just going to work it out and get my a. So here I have 2. Over here I have an a, a 4, and a negative 1. So I really have 2 equals negative 4a. I don't know, I wrote a twice right there. So divide by negative 4, and I get negative 1/2. Now, negative 1/2 makes sense. The negative does because it is going down, and the 1/2 does because it's gotten, it's a pretty wide parabola. And remember, less than 1 is a vertical compression, which makes it kind of fat. So my equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus 1 times x minus 4. And that's all you got to do. Last slide. Write a quadratic function in standard form for the parabola that has vertex negative 3 when it passes through 0, 8. Now, the only thing they did differently here is they didn't draw a picture. So I just wanted to show you one without the picture. It's exactly the same thing. The advice again, use what they give you. Instead of, they gave me the vertex, so I'm using vertex form. So I'm going to go y equals a. Put the vertex in. Opposite inside, exactly outside. I've been doing that for a long time. Don't forget your square like I just did. And it passes through 0, 8. And again, 0, negative 8. And the reason it passes through there is because that point works in the equation. It solves the equation because it works. So I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to put the negative 8 in for the y. The 0 in for the x, and I'm just going to solve it. I'm going to move the 1 over first, make that negative 9. Over here, if I do 0 plus 3, that is 3, and if you square that, you get 9. Divide both sides by 9, you get negative 1. So just plug that in for your a right here, and your final answer becomes y equals negative 1, or I'm just going to put a negative sign, and go with x plus 3 squared plus 1. And that's it right there. So all you got to do, not too bad today. Good review, actually, for the rest of the chapter. Hopefully it helped. We'll work on it tomorrow like we always do, and I'll see you then.